back to the reading of the book of Luke. This is December 23rd. We are in chapter 23, and tomorrow will be our last day of the reading of the book of Luke. It will be chapter 24. That'll bring us to the complete life of Jesus Christ. If you haven't been able to follow along and you'd like to go back and listen to some of the old previous chapters that we've read, you can go to the playlist that we have called Luke. You can catch those there. So we'll hop right into chapter 23. We'll be reading out of the King James Version Bible, and we'll start in verse 1. Jesus before Pilate and Herod. And the whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found his fellow perverting the nations, and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ the King. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the King of the Jews? And he answered and said, Thou sayest it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. Then Pilate heard of Galilee, and asked whether the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he went that he belonged unto the Herod's jurisdiction, he sent out him to Herod, who himself was at Jerusalem at that time. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen more miracles done by him. Then he questioned him in many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and the scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod, with his men of war, set him at naught, and mocking him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. In the same day, Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before they were at enmity between themselves. Jesus sentenced to die, verse 13. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me as one that purveyeth the people, and behold, I have examined him before you, have found no fault in this man touching those things thereof ye accused of. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worrieth the death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him and release him. For of necessity he must release one of them at the feast. And they cried out all at once, saying, All this, away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas, who for a certain sedation made in the city, and for murder, and cast into prison. Pilate therefore, willing to release Jesus, spake again to them. But they cried, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And he said unto them the third time, Why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause to death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. And they were instant with loud voices requiring that he might be crucified. And the voices of them of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him that for sedation and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired, but he delivered Jesus to their will. The crucifixion, verse 26. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simeon, a Cyrenian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus, turning unto them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming, in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bare, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in the green tree, what shall be done in the dry? And there were also two others, malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, they were crucified, where they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left hand. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saves others, let him save himself, if he be Christ, the chosen of God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the King of the Jews, save thyself. And the superscription also was written over him in the letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew, This is King of the Jews. And one of the malefactors which was hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the others answering rebuked him, saying, Dost thou not fear God? Seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. And it was also about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he said, Father, unto thy hands I commanded my spirit. And having saying thus, he gave up the ghost. Now, when the centurions saw that he was done, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. And all the people that came together in that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts in return. And all of their acquaintances and the women that followed him of Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. The burial of Jesus, verse 50. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel of the deed of them. He was of Arimathea, the city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged of the body of Jesus. And he took it down and wrapped him wrapped it in linen and laid it in the sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation of the Sabbath drew on. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after. And behold, the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. So that'll wrap up chapter 23, and we hope that you guys were able to follow us all the way through, and we'll come back tomorrow on Christmas Eve and finish up with chapter 24.